Hello and welcome to Living with Favor. You know, on Favor, we talk about faith, abundance, vitality, overflow, and relationships. I'm Lisa Mosbey, your host of Living with Favor, and I just want to say thank you for tuning in and letting me offer a bit of advice from week to week. Sometimes I have a guest, an expert guest, and sometimes I'm just in the mood to share my experiences and a bit of advice, which is what we're doing this week as we wrap up Love Month with a few thoughts on deepening our relationships. We kicked off the month with the Five Love Languages written by Gary Chapman. I did a great interview with Paula Johnson, who's a health and nutrition coach. And today, my thoughts are more about how do we go deeper in business? We did cover a lot of those personal relationships. We talked to Ashley Torian this month about the connection and relationship that we have to our own bodies and how we keep our bodies healthy and how our minds and our bodies are connected. And an integral part of wellness is keeping them supported. Uh, I also attended a couple of trainings, networking groups. One of my favorite is called the Morning Rush. It's a great way to kick off your day. And we were talking about developing our business relationships. What does that look like? So it spurred a lot of thoughts for me this month, talking about relationships, the depth of our relationships. How am I really connecting with people? And upon reflection, I realized I'm not doing a great job. So I don't know if you are. I hope you walk this journey with me. I want to introduce some concepts, some ideas, some things that I'm going to try to implement in my business. And I just wanted to share them with you. Hey, by the way, if you want an invite to that Morning Rush networking group, it's totally free. We go from 8 to 8:45 Monday through Friday, and it's heart-centered people who want to be the change they want to see in the world. That's kind of the mission statement of it. And if you want to attend, it's open to everybody. Everybody's welcome. Just direct message me and I'll be more than happy to make a connection, get you the Zoom link, and you can check it out and see if it's a way that you want to kick off your morning on the way to work, or if you're just getting ready for work, depending on where you are in the country. We have people all over the world that join us, and there's about 40, 50 people every morning that join there. So you get a bit of advice, a little inspiration. I do sometimes facilitate that group. But really, it's just about connecting and getting inspired to hit your workday strong. So, a little plug for the folks at Morning Rush, and David Rush is the leader of that group. He's the one that founded it, and he's doing some amazing things. So, just want to appreciate and edify the way that he's shown up in my life and been an encouragement. But back to relationships. And then again, that's really about those deep relationships. I've been part of that organization for close to 2 years now. And I built deep relationships with many of these folks because I'm seeing them. I'm present with them on a regular basis. I don't make every morning, obviously. Tuesday mornings, I'm doing my podcast. Thursday mornings, oftentimes I do a Facebook Live most Thursday mornings. But I'm there at least 3 days a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday are my typical days. And sometimes I squeeze it in before my show. So depending on how things feed you, how do you show up for your workday? What kind of relationships do you have with folks who are creating accountability and inspiring and encouraging you to do great things in the world, whether it's in your business or your family or your personal, in your own personal wellness? Who are you connected with? Who are you spending your time with? There's that old saying, and today's workshop is all about saying, so I may as well kick off one that I hadn't even thought of. Who are you spending your time with? Those 5 people that are closest to you influence your health, your wellness, and your financial place in the world. So sometimes we want to make sure that we get enough people from diversified backgrounds and who are doing the things that we aspire to do, so that they can pour into us and encourage us and help us to achieve the goals that we want to. I'm not saying you have to get rid of the folks that are in your life, because you certainly don't, but adding new folks in a space and in a way that will help to encourage you is what we're talking about today. Deepening relationships, especially in the realm of business. We can do it in our personal life. We ask about the kids, but there's this fine line that we have to walk, especially if we're in corporate America. Like, what's okay for us to ask? I actually have clients as a wellness coach, and I do wellness workshop Saturday morning. Again, that one's open to anybody if you're interested. It's run on donations. DM me if you'd like to be a part of that group, where we talk about health and wellness. I also do some business coaching with folks on their social media presence and helping them to find their voice and put their message out there so that they're attracting the people into their business that they're looking to do business with. Well, some of these things are kind of intimate. I get to know people. And so I have folks that actually say, "Hey, I love you. See you next time." We have a fondness, a strong enough bond that we're comfortable saying, "I love you." For some of us, that can be really scary. We may not even say it to our own kids sometimes, or our sisters or brothers, or various people in our relationships. How could we ever get to that point of saying that to someone who is a business connection, a business relationship? Now, this is not for everybody. I'm just telling you, this is where I come from, and this is my experience. Remember, a bit of advice from my experience, and this is how it's showing up in my world. Some of us who are coaches, lawyers, financial managers, or in the wellness field, like I have been for so many years, we intimately work with clients, learning things that even their friends and family may not know. We need to be able to create that safe space of trust and deep listening. Well, let's face it, we're not going to have any more clients, and we're certainly not going to be getting any referrals if we can't establish that. So that's the place that I'm coming from when I'm sharing this information. I hope that you glean a tip or two from it today. I recently asked myself, after doing some of these things all month long, is, do I understand the power of caring deeply? Like, do I understand that power? There is a deep power in that when we can create that space for people. So I want to put that out to you. Do you understand the deep power that comes along with um, creating relationships and connections, and a level of understanding that comes from deep listening, knowing how to ask the questions to extract information to help someone? This has to come from a place of love, absolutely, and a place of integrity and honesty and trust. So, that's power in my mind. There's a power in that. And I think love is probably one of the most powerful emotions that we have. It comes from God. God is love. And when we can love or come from a place of love with whoever we're working with, whether it's kids, whether it's family, whether it's our business people, people that may not like us, people that we're not, maybe not all that fond of. But if we still come at connecting deeply with them from that place in our heart, from that loving place in our heart, we can shift things, we can move, and we can have impact. That's why I love the Morning Rush's mission statement. Be the change you want to see in the world. It's heart-centered people. They're bringing together heart-centered people to network and be the change they want to see in the world. That to me is just beautiful. Like, how do we get heart-centered in our own businesses? So that sheds some light on how I'm showing up in my business the last couple of years. So let's delve into the why, the who, the how, and the when do we deepen these relationships and create meaningful questions? If I had a guest, if I had an expert guest on this show, and I might be a little bit of an expert in this area, but just if I had an expert guest on this show, I would absolutely ask this question: why? Why is it important? Why does it matter? So I'm going to try to answer that, or give you, a few tidbits about why this matters. Why is it important? And why have I held your attention this long? Obviously, you're a little bit curious. Deepening relationships, especially in the business world, requires intentional effort and genuine caring concern. We've expressed that. We're dealing with people's most intimate emotions sometimes, or their finances. By expanding our network and nurturing connections with empathy and love, we not only enrich our professional life, but we also contribute to a more collaborative and connected community within our company, within our networking organizations, wherever we show up. We create that connection. We become a pillar of connection because people can trust us. For me, the why comes down to I call it the $1 billion statement that Oprah had said. I'm sure you've all heard these next 3 quotes that I'm going to share with you. People want to feel seen, heard, and know what they say matters. You've probably heard this. I don't know if it's something that you live with day to day or if it's even present, but I'm sure you've probably heard this, that people want to be seen, heard, and know that what they say matters. Um, yeah, that it's important. And if we're not listening, if we're buried in our phone and yeah, whether that's at work or at the dining room table, the people on the receiving end, the people in your presence don't know, they're not being seen by you. You're not making eye contact. You're not connecting with them, physically being present with them and giving them your attention. Hardly it seems like they're being heard if you're, a snap to answers. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, later, honey. We can talk about that, right? Rather than actually listening, inquiring, asking an open-ended question, bringing out, extracting more information from them. That's really deeply listening, or at least it's moving in that direction. And when somebody speaks, we don't look away, we don't look around the room, we look at them. It's a way to let them know that they have our attention. We're listening, we're seeing, and we're hearing them. I have been in so many Zoom calls where people are distracted. They're looking, and I'm totally guilty of this. I will take the blame first and foremost because all of a sudden, my phone will beep and it's a message, and I'll reach out and I'll look at it to see what it is. And my eyes are down there. My eyes are off the screen. I'm not looking at you anymore. Obviously, you've lost my attention for that moment. Now, when I'm with folks, especially one-to-one networking, I still, I'm a little lax on that because things can kind of run on sometimes in meetings. But when I'm one-to-one, my phone's on mute. I don't know if I'm getting a message anymore because it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the person that I'm with, and I'm fully present with them at the moment, because I can miss the little details in between their comments and statements and what they're sharing if I don't pay attention. And, being that I live most of my life virtually and online, um, a huge part, some say 70 to 80% of our communication is body language. So is the person leaning in? Are they leaning back? Are their arms crossed? All of those little signs, our subconscious reads them and knows them and get a sense. A big part of that communication, big part of our communication is not just what people are saying, but the expression on their face, how their body moves. And we now we're just getting a head and shoulders most of the time. So it's even more difficult to really truly understand where somebody is coming from. So it's that much more important to be fully present when you're with somebody. People want to be seen, heard, and know that what they say matters. That quote came from Oprah. And some people say that that was her billion-dollar quote. Her skill was to be able to sit and interview directly across from somebody, be fully present, ignoring the audience and the people in her ear and the microphones and the TV, and be with the person that she's interviewing. What a great skill. I aspire to be that good at that. The next one I have for you is, have you heard this saying, know, love, and trust? Know, love, and trust. You may have heard it as know, like, and trust. The quote, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. It's often attributed to a guy named Bob Berg. He's a speaker and author, and he's well known for his work in sales and marketing and influence. The idea behind the quote is that building relationships based on trust and likability is essential in business interactions. Totally makes sense. Absolutely. Where people do business with people that are like them. That's the truth. When you're creating your avatar for business, the person that you are going to attract and do business with is most like you. For me, it was amazing. This was never more clear to me than after I went through a divorce some 7 years ago or so. Um, the people that started showing up in my life were women in their 50s who were maybe divorced or widowed. And it was like all of a sudden something about my energy changed when I joined a different, I'll say, demographic, a different group of people. Like my situation changed. And so then those are the people that I started attracting in. Those are the people I started spending time with. Those are the people I started doing business with and supporting their businesses for many different reasons. All of us together may have been struggling after a divorce. Your financial situation changes. You've lost maybe the love of your life if you were widowed. There's deep emotion there. And so when you're going through whatever it is that you're going through, if you're just a month or 2 or 6 months ahead of other folks, you can help them. You can shed light on them. You become the authority because you've walked the journey before them. Or maybe you're a year or two away from that experience and you have a different perspective. You've dealt with a lot of the emotion or the trauma around that experience, and now you can be a guiding light for someone else. I'm using my example, but what is yours? If you're a professional athlete and now you've retired from that, you're a great coach for other athletes. You know what it takes. If you were a plumber, that's why they have apprenticeships for plumbers and pipe fitters. My dad was a pipe fitter, and he was amazing and brilliant, and he had so many people that came up to me at the funeral and say, "Oh, your dad taught me this, or your dad taught me this, and your dad was so wise." And that's that you're the authority, and you're going to draw in those people like you. So, like is a huge part of that. And trust. When you're like people and they see themselves in you, or they see what they want to aspire to in you, it starts to build that trust. And it's your responsibility, my responsibility, our responsibility to foster that trust. We never want to harm that relationship when we're mentoring other people, or we're apprenticing other people, or we're coaching other people, we're being a speaker in front of a group and representing something. We don't want to damage that trust. We actually want to foster and build on that trust. So how do you consciously think about this? I don't know. But that's what deepening relationships comes from, that, people getting to know you. What is your story? Do they like you? Is there some sort of a bond? And can they trust you? What are your behaviors, your words, your language, your actions doing to foster those three, for them to know, like, and to trust you? And I changed that word to love, because I want to take it to that next level. That's even deeper than where we're at. But I understand, I'll meet you where you're at. If it's no like and trust, perfect, beautiful. If it's no love and trust, fabulous. You're on my team. Let's go. Let's run. All right. I said I was three. The third quote is, the last one is, why? Wait a minute. It's actually a quote. Theodore Roosevelt. I forgot what it was. Here it is. Here it is. People don't care what you know till they know that you care. I know you've all heard this. I use this all the time, and I hear other people quote it all the time. I didn't know it was from Theodore Roosevelt, so I actually had to go look it up. It was in my mind, and I looked it up. And he was an amazingly successful president and equally a wise man. Yeah, people don't care what you know. So why would you ever open up a conversation with your sales pitch? Why would you ever? They don't care. At that moment, there is no way, not likely, that they're going to buy from you if they don't know, like, and trust you. And it's important for them to feel like, let's tie these together backwards. It's important for them to feel heard and seen, and know what they say matters. So when we're getting into our business relationships, it's critically important that we start asking questions. How do we get from hello to yes, I want to do business with you? Right? Hello to yes, I want to do business with you. It certainly doesn't start with a sales pitch. You can tell them all the benefits in the world of your product or service. That is not going to shift them off of no, because they don't know you. They don't necessarily like you. In fact, you may be repelling them and turning them off, and you're actually creating dislike by using that approach. And they certainly don't trust you at that point, because you haven't done anything to foster trust. So how do we create value, offer value, and invite people into our world? We start to share our stories. When people hear our stories, what we've been through, what we've walked through, how they can learn from us, that starts to foster some of that. Our businesses are not just about selling products and services. It's about connecting people, connecting to our clients and customers from a heart-centered place, like caring about their business succeeding, caring about what's important to them, and make sure that we can fulfill what it is they need, or a piece of it. We're not everything to all people, but your product or service, is it a good fit for them? And I think part of trust is knowing when it's not. Don't be taking clients or customers that you cannot, above board, above, better than satisfactory, serve them. Like, if you can't be an extraordinary solution for them, refer them to somebody else. Because when you start to refer people out, um, hopefully people will get a sense of what they're good at and refer people back into you. So I do this often in coaching. I know where my skill set lies. My skill set is in the people, not necessarily in the process. I have extremely soft skills. I'm going to use the word. I'm going to say soft skills, like communication, language, how people interact with other people. When it comes to number crunching, going through your expenses and figuring out where you need to be and what needs to be cut, maybe that's not such a strong area for me. I can do it. I've done it for my own business, but I don't love it. I'm not numbers. are not my strong suit. Conversation, communication, marketing, getting a pulse of what it is that people are asking and needing and saying and speaking. I'm your girl. I'm your girl. When we're going into numbers, I'm going to bring in other people that's their strong suit. They see things between the lines that I never notice. So what are your strong suits? How do you communicate that to those people? And how do you serve your client above average? Like, how do you offer extraordinary services? And if you can't, if it's on the fence, that person will be, that client or customer will likely be a burden, not a blessing. And so, you know, referring them out could be a blessing because you'll receive referrals back. So that's where I'll leave it with that one. So how are you connecting? Let's get into that. How are you connecting? Where are you finding your clients? And who do you want to deepen relationships with? You know, take a minute and reflect on the individuals that you want to strengthen those connections with. I mean, we all say our spouse, maybe our mom and dad, maybe our kids, might be at the top of the list. But I want you to shift now past that and get into those business relationships. Who is it that you want to strengthen those business relationships with? You know, is it clients? Is it colleagues? Is it employees? Do you have mentors or something else? Are there people that you want to collaborate with, potential business partners? What about investors? All of those categories of people can serve your business and help you achieve what it is that you're looking to achieve. What kind of relationships do you have with those folks? And how do we start to foster a deeper relationship with them? Yeah, that's the question. For me, where do I find those people is in my phone. Where the who for me is the people that are in my phone. I have, like, I don't know, well over 1,000 contacts. I don't think I'm at 2,000, but there's probably over 1,000 people in my phone. And I can't tell you that I've talked to 1,000 people. Can't tell you that I've talked to all of them this year. Why are they in my phone? I have set out a goal for myself to reach out and text 5 people a day and just check in and say, hey, how are you doing? Any chance you'd want to chat and do a one-to-one, even for 15 or 20 minutes? You know, 1,000 people, it's going to take me a while to get through that. If you're somebody who's watching this, who's in my phone, expect a text at some point. I will get through it. And I started at the Z's instead of the A's because I'm closer, you know, I'm a Wheeler, or my maiden name is Wheeler. And so, yeah, I was always last. So I'm starting at the back and going forward. So I'm reaching out and just texting 5 people a day to check in because I've decided that this is really important after this month of all of the different events that I've gone to and conversations that I've had and podcasts that I've done or shows that I've done. Love and connection have showed up powerfully for me this month. And I want to reach out to those folks. After the folks in my phone, now this is a mountain, not a molehill. The people on Facebook and the people in LinkedIn, probably LinkedIn first. A lot of the Facebook people are friends of friends who wanted to connect. So that number's really big. And I try to show up there and do posts so people can get to know me. But I've not really invited those folks to actually connect with me one-to-one or dive deeper. Some have. Some are actually friends that I've known and spent time with. But so many are friends of friends, and I really don't have any relationship with them. So that one's more challenging, and I don't know when or how I will go after that. But I think it's important. The people that I want that are connected to me, I kind of want to get to know them. And then LinkedIn, a lot of those are business acquaintances, people that we've been at networking meetings, we've met. You know, I typically don't like connect with other people's LinkedIn connections because it's not really a connection for me if I can't call on them or ask something of them. And I'm not saying all of mine are. Some have been that other piece. But those folks are kind of second in line who I would like to reach out and try to schedule meetings with. And, you know, even just 15 minutes, like, tell me about your business, because then I know as I'm meeting and talking to people every week, it's like, oh, I need to introduce you to this person. I need to connect you over here. And the more connections I make, the more likely I am to get referrals from those folks. If I'm in front of them and I'm present with them, they may offer that. It's called the law of reciprocity. I'm going to receive. So many of us, at least in my sphere, we're running around networking. You know, I used to do 5 to 7 networking meetings a week before COVID. A week. I was out meeting people. I have lists. I have shoe boxes of business cards that I've collected at meetings. And I don't know any of these people. Like, I never followed up. they're on the list, they're in the shoebox. I had every intention of calling them and doing a meeting, but I met with the same, 10 or 20 people that I would run into at these meetings. And we kind of traveled together in a circle, in a group, and we became friends. But my ability to reach out with that many contacts was overwhelming. So I would just bring the cards back, put them in the shoebox, and go to the next networking meeting. And I would only deal with what we call the easy fruit, the easy pickings. The people that were ready to make a decision today, those are the people that I follow up with. Those are the people that if I connected it with them right now and they said they had a need, those are the ones I followed up with. The rest of them probably had a need they hadn't expressed, or would eventually have a need. If they're in business, they're going to need to find their voice and put it out there and do social media. And I have great products to offer them, but I dropped the ball in following up with them. And so for me, I have stopped doing big networking groups. I might do 1 or 2 a month. I did mention that morning rush group Monday through Friday. I'm hopping on there 3 days a week. That's really more for me for accountability, to show up. I get fed a little bit of information, have a little bit of conversation because we break out into groups. It feeds ideas for me, like this idea, and then I run with those ideas. So it is a source of information and um, education that is allowing me to coach better, to be better at what it is that I do. So it is sort of a networking group, but we don't go around the room. We don't introduce ourselves. We don't say what our businesses are. There's a training, there's a breakout room where we talk about that training, and we come back and we review it. If people want to connect one-to-one, it's your responsibility to reach out and chat and figure that out. Connect one-to-one and go deeper with folks that way. So in a networking sense, it's a little bit different. So when I say I don't go to those big networking groups where you go around the room and everybody has 1 minute to say who they are, and there's 2 or 3 that I might catch, but the other 20, 30, 40 in the room, it's like, all I heard was wah, wah, wah. That does not inspire deep listening for me. It doesn't, it doesn't help me in my deep listening practice, because as the next person goes, I can't remember what the one before them said. Your brain wanders. It's hard for me to focus and be attentive and look at them. And they're looking around the room. They're not looking at you. So I can easily be distracted by my telephone or watching somebody else, play with their papers or do something else. So that doesn't feed into that deep listening. So my question, coming back to my question, is who is it that you want to foster deep relationships with? Where are you going to find them? One of the things that I will tell you I did is I grabbed a little dollar store notebook, and it says, "The future is bright." And I started writing down people's names that I want to connect with, and from different organizations, parts that groups that I have been in. And I went through my phone. I went through like the sticky notes, some of the most recent business cards. I have several pages of people that I want to follow up with. They're going to be the first ones because they're the freshest ones, the most recent ones. And I feel like if I don't get to them, I've totally dropped the ball. In addition to that group, I'll reach out to, somewhere between 5 and 10 of those a day. I'm reaching out to those 5 in my phone. Some of them will overlap, and I'll make notes and make sure that I don't overlap that. But where do you want to start? Include colleagues, mentors, clients. Remember the list. Maybe people who are investors, people you want to collaborate with. Where do you want to start? Is this something that you want to start to integrate into your business to deepen some of those relationships? And then the next question is, how do you do it? For me, it's not about calling them and telling them what you're doing. It's about calling them and asking them what they're doing. That's the question. What have you been up to? My only response, I'm not going to tell you how to do it for you. I'm just going to share for me. This is about me sharing my experience and a little bit of my advice. I'm letting people know that, hey, I have 1,000 people in my telephone and in my contacts on my phone, and most of them I have not talked to in more than a year. And so I'm reaching out to a few folks a day, and I would love to connect. You're somebody that I find fascinating and interesting, and I'd love to know what you're up to. And when you get on the phone, if they want to know what you're up to, don't answer the question. Promise me you won't answer the question. Just say, you know what? This isn't about me. It really, really isn't about me. I'm not here to sell you anything. I really, truly wanted to know what you're up to. And I was going to make some notes in my phone. And if you want to stay connected, I'll leave you my phone. And if you think, hey, yeah, girl, I don't need to talk to you anymore, I'll delete it because I don't need to have all those people in there. I really want to deepen my relationships and let people know that that's what your intention is. And no matter how hard they ask, resist the idea that you're going to tell them what it is that you do. The first conversation is about them. It is not about you. And that's the way to deepen that relationship. Let them know that they are seen, heard, and what they say matters to you. If nobody else, it matters to you. If you start to interject, if you start to say, "Oh, I did that too." They just said, "Oh, I went on a cruise. I did that too." There will be a time that it will be appropriate for you to say, "Wow, oh my gosh, you've been up to so much. I'm fascinated." Like whatever it is that intrigued you about that conversation, because you were fully present and not worried about what you were going to say. It was all you're going to do is ask about them. You got to hear them. You will get to hear them. Try this. Don't take my word for it. Try this. When you get to hear them, there'll be an opportunity towards the end of the conversation, or maybe you'll schedule a follow-up call and say, "Hey, I really enjoyed this conversation. Can we talk again next month?" And then it'll be your turn. At the end of the conversation, maybe take 2 minutes and say, I really enjoy this. I know you asked a couple of times what I was up to, and I'll just give you a quick 2 minutes. If you have 2 more minutes, I'll give you a quick 2 minutes, and let them know, here's what the kids are doing, and here's what I'm doing in my business. Here's the people that I support, but keep it short. Please keep it short, because this conversation isn't about you. Deepening your relationships is not about you yet. It will be. There will become more of an equal give and take, but when we're reopening these relationships and encouraging to build trust, we can't go into a sales pitch. That doesn't build trust. The trust is to say what you were going to do, and that is, I'm reaching out to deepen my relationships to the people on the phone. I want to reconnect with them. And then when you do that, when you do what you say you were going to do, you're going to start to build trust. And by sharing that conversation and getting to know them and having that exchange, um, maybe you'll bring in the like again. Like, why did you end up in my phone in the first place? I must have liked you, or I wouldn't have put you in my phone. And so it's just refreshing that. It's bringing that back. It's creating that connection. And then in that 2 minutes, if you do share a little bit about you in those last 2 minutes of the conversation, that might be where a person would offer a referral. Like, there may be a way to say, "Yeah, this is for me, I do social media. I help small business owners find their voice and put it out on the internet using AI to help them write their social media posts." If you know of any business owners that could use that help, send them my way. Absolutely, I would be honored to serve them, and I promise that they will be able to trust me in walking that path with them. Something as simple as that. It's not a sales pitch. It's like, this is the facts. This is who I am. I do deeply care about small business owners, because I'm a small business owner, and this is my unique skill, and I'm happy to share it with folks. And if you have people in your network that I could serve, that would be a blessing for me to do that. Like, it can be that simple. That's not a sales pitch. It's just who you are as a matter of fact. You'll have an opportunity down the line to, as you deepen your relationships, you'll have an opportunity down the line to ask for referrals in a different way, but keep it simple when you first start. So that's kind of my approach. I don't know if it makes sense, but genuine connections are really built on trust and transparency and shared values. If they're in your phone, if they're in your, in some of your circles online, your social circles, there may already be some shared values. Now the idea is to build up that trust and that transparency to let them know who you are and what it is that you stand for. I kind of want to go deeper, but boy, I can talk a long time. I want to go deeper into these conversations, but I think we'll save that for another time, where we go from hello to yes. What does that look like? What type of a conversation? What are the questions that you ask during this conversation so that you don't make it about you? And sometimes we need a cheat sheet. We need a little bit of direction, because it's our nature to fall back on, kind of talking about ourselves and saying that what we're doing, especially if we've been doing some fun stuff like going to Machu Picchu last month. Uh, but it's these conversations, these deepening relationships that we're building, really need to start with our clients and our customers and our staff and the people that we work with first. We need to, we are inviting them to share with us. We're holding the space to create a safe space of trust for them to actually let us know what's happening in their world. And we want to be of encouragement and inspiration for them. And hopefully they'll come back, that it won't be a one-time thing, that you'll start to develop a bond with some of these folks. All right, here's my last question, since I'm kind of running out of time, and that is, when will you commit to making this a reality? we don't want to walk away from this. You listened all this way. You got to the end of it. I'm sure that there was at least one or two takeaways in here that you might be able to implement. When are you going to do it? Are you going to start right now? Are you going to hang up from this, this Zoom call or get off of this audio and grab your phone and text 5 people? And maybe start with A, or if your first name is Lisa, start with an L, and you pick a letter, but find those 5 people. Or are there 5 people in there that you haven't communicated with a really long time and they keep popping in your head, and it's like, oh, I've wanted to find out who they are. Send those 5 texts and just say, hey, I'm checking in. How you doing? Do you have 15 minutes to connect? I'd love to hear what you were up to. It doesn't have to be complicated, and you don't have to pour into or pour out everything that you're doing. Make it simple and invite people to come in and open up and just connect with you. I think setting a timeline is crucial. If you don't actively start doing this, you're going to be in the same place a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, as you are right now. Do you love the relationships that you have with your clients, customers, and people that you're in business with? If not, find new people or deepen the relationships that you have. You once liked and trusted those folks, and so that is there. It still can be there again, but somebody has to make the first move. Somebody has to reach out and actually connect with them. you know, define a realistic time frame. For me, 5 texts a day to people who are in my sphere, that's completely manageable for me. And even if all 5 of those people wanted to do a one-to-one, and that hasn't happened to me yet, but if all 5 of them wanted to do a one-to-one, I've set it up that it's 15 minutes, and I can do that in an afternoon. Wednesday afternoon from noon to 5. Are you available? Or from 5 to 8 if I want to do evening calls after people are off work. If they're folks who have corporate jobs, like from noon to 8, is there 15 minutes in there? And you can put all 5 of those people in that 15-minute slot, have those conversations. And if it's something that you need to go deeper with them, reschedule it. Do not turn that initial call into a business call and say, you know what, that I wasn't calling about that, but if you want to talk about that, I would love to demo my product. I'd love to share that with you. Can we do that next week? Is there a time when we can squeeze that in next week and push that out? Try to make that first conversation just about them. All right, whether it's weeks or months, having a deadline creates the accountability. Are you going to commit to it one time? Are you going to do this for the next 5 days? For me, I've actually committed to this through the entire month of March. I'm going to go from today, or this week, I started last week, all the way to the end of March, and just see what happens. See what I can do with my sphere, with my network, in reaching out and connecting with those folks. So maybe it's a 30-day challenge. We do 30-day challenges in the morning rush every month. There's a 30-day challenge, whether it's on health and wellness or deepening your relationships or something, you get to choose it. Are you ready for a 30-day challenge to deepen the relationships that you have in your workplace or within your business? If you are, and you want a little inspiration or encouragement, shoot me a direct message. I'd like to know that you're doing this with me, and maybe we can be accountability partners to each other. Just pushing out a little bit of encouragement to say, hey, keep going, because maybe it's not going to be easy. Maybe there are some calls that are in there and people go, yeah, I'm not interested. Fine, no worries. We don't need to let it take us out of the game. We know when we can identify our friends and those people that might be referral partners for us down the line, that's the people that we want in our phone. If other folks aren't interested, bless and release them, let them go, no worries. I think I'm going to do this one more week. I think we're going to kick off the month of March because I'm doing this. I'm in the action step of this. I think we're going to do a little bit of action and integration. I'm going to give you a couple of exercises. So I want you to come back next Tuesday or see part 2 of this series of deepening business relationships. I just made that decision off the cup. So I have more to say about this, and I want to keep going on it. So I hope you join me. Let's say I'm going to have like 5 or 6 tips next week. So come on back and we'll dive a little bit deeper into those. All right, everyone. If you need help with your business, if you need a little advice or, let's say a social media solution to getting your voice succinct and put into social media messages that you can push out. We can use your images, your photos, or we can integrate them with our free stock of images and photos to actually build your social media campaign online. So it represents you and the message that you want to put out there. Again, deepening relationships with those folks who are following you. I would be happy to help you with that. I will happily show you a demo of our app that we use and see if we can't increase your engagement, your likes, and your follows. So if you want to do that, pop over to lisamosbey.com. That's Lisa, Mosbey.com. And you can book a 30-minute call with me, and we'll talk about what we can do for your business and how we can increase your engagement. Thank you so much for being with me and letting me offer a bit of advice today. It was my pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you on future calls. Thanks, everybody.